direct results. Do those things will help our city be safe, prosperous, and friendly to each other.
Amen. So we want to welcome you all. This is actually a nice group. It's really nice to see the outstanding support here from the Sheriff's Office as well as members of our community. So thank you very much for coming. We'll go ahead and have our roll call next. Darren? Jacob?
Okay. Diane Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Gary Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Adam Moss.
Here.
Councilmember George Ray.
Here.
Councilmember Clark Sapp.
Here.
And acting pro-temp mayor Eileen Moss.
Thank you, here. So next we have a city council training, and this is, we take a couple, 2 or 3 minutes each meeting and have, we remind each other of rules and things that we can do to be good council members. So we're going to turn the time over to George.
Thank you. Donating and giving things away. A little impetus for this training today. When I ran for city council, I did not know that this was a salary position. And so I wasn't expecting salary. And I didn't realize it until I was reading the budget when I was running. I realized there was a budget item for council member salaries. And with that thought, it had crossed my mind that it'd be cool. There's some, I don't know, and money's taboo, right? Nobody likes to talk about money. But for some of us, money's not really, I wouldn't say an issue, but sometimes you don't need more money. You have sufficient for your needs. I live pretty frugal. And so I live pretty sufficient for my needs. And as I've gotten a little older, I want to donate more time and money to the community, hence running for council. And so as I was thinking about the salary that I got as a council member, a portion of my salary is going for taxes, not just pre-payment, but also post-payment for my own income. And so I had the thought, I have a lot of crazy thoughts about what if I was able to donate more of that money instead of coming to me, if we left it in the city coffers and then under council control, donate that money to the projects that the council deems important or necessary. And so on that thought, I was reading about donations and giving things away in the Powers and Duty Handbook. Utah Code 18-8-2 limits the appropriation of money. The term appropriation includes gifts or donations to municipal corporate purposes only, but provides that it is considered a corporate purpose to appropriate money for any purpose that, in the judgment of the municipal legislative body, provides for the safety, health, prosperity, moral well-being, peace, order, comfort, or convenience of the inhabitants of the municipality. Subject to the city or town's legislative body first holding a public hearing on the matter of the donation. Prior to the public hearing, the city or town must undertake a study to determine what benefit the city or town will receive from the proposed appropriation of money, the public purpose of the appropriation, and whether the appropriation will accomplish that purpose. The exception to the public hearing requirement is the appropriation of the money for the purpose was included in the adopted budget of the municipality. If it was, then the matter is considered heard at the city or town's budget hearing and no further hearing is necessary. It appears that if the issue is included in the budget, then no study of the benefit of the donation is necessary either. In other words, donations or gifts can only be made if there's a statute which authorizes the city or town to make the gift. Utah Code 10-8-2 allows appropriation of money for corporate purposes, but only after following the proper procedure. If the requested gift or donation is not specifically included in the adopted budget, then a study of the benefit to the city or town and a public hearing is required before the gift or donation of money is made. The key to avoiding problems is to consider the proposed donation as part of the annual budget and make clear findings to the minutes when a gift is authorized. The findings should contain a clear statement of how the gift furthers the city or town's corporate purpose. It may also be a good idea to have the written policy on gifts. If a city or town does have a policy, it must be sure to follow policy. If it's not specifically in the budget, then the city or town who has asked for a gift or donation of money must say no to the request or conduct the study, publish notice of the public hearing, hold the public hearing, then specifically find a corporate purpose is present and value is being received. All this must occur before the money is given. As a general rule, the gifts of money or property may not be a good idea for a city or town. Unlike counties, cities and towns are not primarily in the business of providing welfare services. In municipalities, power to tax comes with the duty. The duty of city and town is to use tax dollars only for valid purposes. It is the responsibility of all council members to evaluate requests for donations with interest of the taxpayer first in mind. Remember, if your residents think the entity requesting the donation is worthy of receiving the money, they will directly contribute. Using tax dollars for charitable purposes is the same as forcing donation on your residents. This should only be done when it is clear that the donation is in the best interest of the residents and clearly authorized by law and proper procedures are followed.
So do you want to donate your salary?
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
Lots of things to be worked out, but it's still in the back of my head bubbling.
Okay. Great. Thank you for the presentation. We are accepting donations to our cemetery, by the way. So that is a public interest that we are looking for. So, okay. So continuing on, does any member of the council have a conflict of interest with anything that's on the agenda this evening? Seeing none, we'll move forward. We have a special presentation from the Youth City Council. We have our adult members here, so we'll turn the time over to Jeannie Grover.
Thank you. Summer is challenging for getting our youth together, and so, but I thought this is August and it's the last month of our council year, and it's kind of fitting for me to come and report and say a few things about how our year has been. So I'll give the little report that I would have asked them to give, which was that on our projects that we've done and are doing. In July, so at the end of school, we had a popsicle party. I think they may have reported on that the last time. And in July, we participated in the parade in Kaysville, which was a ton of fun. And also a few of us who were in town got together and just did like a quick walk along the hollow to pick up any garbage or anything that there might have been there. I don't think they found much, but because it's usually a really clean place, but did do that. And the next big thing is the blood drive. That is what's today, Tuesday? Is this Thursday, day after tomorrow? So this is something that there's like lots of spots still open. It's gonna be in this room from 1 to 7 this Thursday. And it's been put on Facebook, so you can look up a flyer there. It's been made an event as well as like a flyer that you can share and pass around and look how to sign up. It's very easy. I signed up myself. You go to redcrossblood.org, and up in the right-hand corner, there's like a place for a zip code. You just click your zip code in there, and it gives you a list of your nearby drives. And ours is like 3rd on the list or something. And you click that one and just pick a time slot. And there's lots of time slots open still. So I encourage everyone, if you're physically able and your schedule is open enough, you can come anytime between 1 and 7 on Thursday. There's lots of availability. Come and donate blood. There's always a need for that in the community. There's also a phone number that you can call. It's 1-800-733-2767. 1-800-733-2767 if anybody wants to use the phone number instead of online. So we have had an awesome year. This has been so much fun for us this year as advisors. We've had about 20 kids on our council, which is the largest it's ever been. And I think it's gonna be even bigger in the coming year. Most of our membership were 9th, 10th, and 11th graders. We just had one senior who was our mayor, and she graduated, but we didn't lose much to graduation this time, which is probably a little bit unique and nice, And we have several applications for new kids to join for next year. So be somewhere between 20 and 30 members for the coming year, I think. And that makes me so happy.
Should we look at having to limit this at some point?
I haven't yet.
Okay. We're still, it's still.
I'm still
manageable,
comfortable.
or-
I'm really comfortable with that number.
Okay.
I really like the size that we've had. There is a threshold of activity that they need to meet in order to continue to the next year, continue serving their term without reapplying and things. And almost all of them have met that. Just one or two struggled this year to meet that. And so really active council, really great kids, lots of fun ideas and support and everything. And the Mayor Pullman, advised us as advisors at the beginning of the year that there doesn't need to be like a cookie cutter pattern every year. They have to do this activity. They have repeated some. He said the Easter egg hunt is basically the only thing written in stone. Besides that, let them make it up. Let them lead. Let them put out their ideas and do what they want to do and what they care about, what they're excited about. And so we have basically followed that advice, and it's been really fun and awesome and great. And almost all of them, I think, are going to return for the next year. And I want to publicly thank you all as our public officials and those in charge of the budget and the funds for the support that you've given us, because that has translated into more financial support for the YCC as far as like the leadership conference that they went to and the Day on the Hill. Those are really neat opportunities. And those that were able to participate in those had great experiences. In both cases, the Day on the Hill was really great, but also going to USU for that leadership conference. What I'm talking about is leadership conference that is just for youth city council members throughout the state. And there's a state association of youth city councils for everybody that has one in the whole state, which is a lot of cities. And they put on a conference at USU during March and had great guest speakers and workshops and fun games and fed us food and all of that kind of thing. It was, and the kids had a blast and learned a lot and were exposed to such great ideas and inspiring things for their lives. And so I'm just thankful to be in this position, and I want to say thank you for that support and for your moral support. Many of you show up at our events.
Well, we need to be thanking you.
And cheer us on. I really appreciate that a lot. And I love serving in this capacity because what can be better than building our youth? I mean, I feel good about that all the way around, and it's just fun and it's a privilege and a pleasure. So
Thank you very
thank
much
you
for what you do and for what they do.
Yes.
Please tell them.
Thank you, I will. And please set aside a little time for us for swearing in on the first council meeting in September is what we plan on each year. So
Thank you.
I will have them be here at 7 and do that.
Thank
Okay.
you for the good job. You guys do as leaders. We really appreciate it.
So next we have a presentation from the Davis County Sheriff's Office.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sergeant Jason Gardner with Davis County Sheriff's Office. First, I want to just introduce who's representing the Sheriff's Office today. We have Sheriff Kelly Sparks. Next to him is Sergeant John Pierce. John has been the investigations sergeant for the last, what feels like 20 years, but maybe a few years. And so he just barely came onto patrol. Next to the sheriff is Sergeant John Atkin, who's a sergeant over our professional standards unit that handles all of our training and our policies and internal investigations. And then next to him is Elizabeth Pinto. She is our head analyst at the Sheriff's Office that takes all of the data of all of the crimes and everything that we do and puts it into something we can all understand. So she's actually the one that made this PowerPoint today. So I give her credit for that. Before we go into this, basically what we're going to do is we'll have a slide for patrol, and then it will be a slide for investigations. And we'll break that down a little bit for you. Those are obviously two different units that work together to be able to provide resources for you. When you call the police, the patrol respond and they handle the initial investigation. If it requires further follow-up, that gets assigned to investigations. I will give a little preface. I recently came from investigations, and we have some things broken down in hours. It's an interesting way of quantifying investigations, because really the goal is to have 0 hours, right? So the first quarter we'll look at, there's going to be a really high number of hours. This was a particular case that was quite high profile in Fruit Heights that turned into something that went statewide. That person has recently pled guilty. So you will see that's the reason for that high number. So it's good that that work was done, but then you'll see the next quarter will be lower, and that makes sense because we didn't have that same crime or similar issues. That's a good thing, okay? All right, if you don't mind flipping to the next slide. Okay, gotcha. Well, so the first one we're going to go to, since it's been a minute since we've been here, is actually the end of last year, from October 1st to the end of the year. So looking into patrol first, our patrol deputies are expected to log their hours that are spent either on a call or proactivity, patrolling the area. This is done most of the time, okay? You can imagine after a 10 or 13-hour shift, sometimes there are a few times that it is missed. But for the most part, this is quite accurate. And we, as you can see for that quarter, 756 hours spent in Fruit Heights, which on a 7-day work week would average around 8 hours a day. And that's typical. You'll see that about 8 or 10 hours a day that our patrol will log, just patrol. We had 198 dispatched calls. That means that many people called in. And on view is situations that the police generated. So whether that's a traffic stop or something suspicious they observed or an extra patrol, anything like that. So that's what on view is going to mean. As you can see, I won't have to read every little number here, but most of the stuff that we get called about ultimately is non-criminal, which is good. And we got persons crimes, property crimes, and 106 citations written. And when it says medicals, that's a medical assist. So we don't always go on every single medical emergency, but sometimes the EMS will request us, or we will respond just because of something about the call that comes in that makes us feel we should do so. Okay, you can go down a little bit. Yeah, maybe that'd be a good one for Elizabeth.
So Habitat Society would be something like delayed controlled substance or graffiti or so it's where the victim is the society.
Persons being the victim's person and property victim, the property is the victim, right? Someone stole or damaged something. Okay, so now into investigations for that quarter. So you'll see 128 hours. Again, that was primarily that one case, which was my case. And it was about a good month or two that I was working on that one. So it makes sense since it's so high. And then there is 37 new cases within the last quarter. Elizabeth, that were assigned during that quarter, right? Or is that closed?
That's assigned during that quarter.
Okay.
Yes, and the charts that are represented represent, and the hours that are represented represent the cases that were closed during that.
So if there is an open case, sometimes that can take a week or sometimes it can take 6 months. So that those hours are only logged when that case is closed by that detective. And so that higher profile case, actually it occurred in early August of that year, but then was closed during this quarter. So it's kind of hard to gauge due to that. You know, it's kind of a revolving data that's coming in. And you can see criminal mischief is damaged property. So we have a few property-related crimes, some domestic violence and protective orders, which kind of be brought into domestic violence as well. And then we had a few that were closed at this time, child-related crimes as well, which is typically about 1/3 of what our investigators deal with of all their cases are child-related. Another 1/3 is adult persons, and then another 1/3 is property, typically for Fruit Heights and the rest of the county often. So, okay, you're good to go down. This next slide will just break it down a little bit more deeper if you're interested. As you can see, just that were closed during that quarter. Okay, you good if I move on there? Okay, we'll go to the next one. Okay, and then, so we also wanted to make sure to highlight, yes, we have patrol deputies out there, we have investigators, but in order for a police department to operate, we have a whole bunch of people, civilians as well, that we couldn't have a police department operate without. And so we've got Elizabeth and her team with the analytics, of course, our dispatch. We talked with dispatch, every call that comes in is 1 to 5 minutes. And so you can imagine each one that comes in, we stack up, and we've got a lot of hours spent for Fruit Heights here. We have a crime lab, we have a sergeant and 3 crime lab technicians that'll come out, do fingerprints, DNA, any serious crime scene, they come out. They're excellent at what they do. So that's their hours as well. And then our records department for all of our reports. Something really cool that happened in the sheriff's office about a year ago is we got 2 victim advocates. We had not had any of these in the past. These 2 women had previous experience in this field, and we hired both of them, and they are amazing. So when a victim is victimized, they get to work with them on applying for a protective order to know where the case is at. They'll sit with them through court. They'll, in a sense, truly hold their hand through that process, where the detectives have a lot of cases and they do their best to try to work with that victim, but to have that designated person has been absolutely amazing. We're really grateful for them. So there's a rough estimate of their hours as well. Okay, we're good to go down. So then we'll go into the first quarter. Go down a little more. I know it's delayed, sorry. I don't want to keep telling you. So this is patrol, 968 hours during that quarter, this year. So we're average around 10 hours a day, 202 dispatch calls, 195 on view. And then 49 citations in that quarter. So hopefully this gives you a rough idea of basically what's going on with our patrol deputies. Okay, you're good to go down. Into our investigations, so 51 hours of closed cases. We had some forgeries. This is something that often happens. I'm sure you guys know people that get victimized by scams and things like that. Some child crimes and other types of crimes that you can read there. 15 new cases assigned during that quarter with primarily persons crimes. And break it down just a little bit there for you if you want to take a look. Okay, so next would be again, for our additional services that make us be able to do what we do. You can see those hours there. 30 hours crime lab. So basically we had a few call outs that they would come out and process scenes. And then our victim advocates as well. And a lot of great people working on those things. Okay, so this is up until now. We have had 730 patrol hours, averaging 8 hours a day, 330 dispatch calls, 549 on view. And you guys, you can see 189 citations. That's quite a bit for a quarter. That adds July too, so I guess that would make sense. Okay, then 32 hours by detectives of closed cases, 21 new cases. Okay, you're good to go down. Also, if you have questions later on any of these two, we'll make them available to you. Okay, 47 hours from Elizabeth's team. A lot of hours by dispatch. There's a little discrepancy in there just because we averaged we had at least a minute a call. So that's your minimum number. Sometimes they can take a few extra minutes, of course. Okay, you're good to go down. Okay, and then this is a slide of its own. We currently have 21 open investigations that are assigned to detectives, which is about 15% of their caseload, which is about what we normally have for Fruit Heights. And almost half of those are persons crimes, and again, about a third property. Thank you. Yes. You know what? That had July in it because we went until now. I realized, so that's 4 months. I'm assuming that's why, Elizabeth, we have 3 months and then 4 months, so it's over a quarter. Because it's now, so we have, April, May, June, and July. We also hired a lot of people recently. We've been training a lot. So we have a number of people on our field training program. And so typically we're going to make sure that they get a lot of experience, which could possibly increase the numbers, just speculating though, but have a few more extra deputies out there, which is nice. Yeah.
Do you see historically that crime is less during colder months?
Well, depends on the type of crime. So what we would call street crime, or something that would be outside, your vehicle burglaries and things like that, can sometimes go down. I like to say everyone does their hobbies in the summer, including criminals. So, but sometimes the crimes inside of the home may increase. There was a big increase during COVID because people are cooped up. Same thing happens in the winter.
So in the last quarter of last year,
Mhm.
the first group you showed, the numbers were higher also than the first quarter. And how does that to do with all the fraud and
You know, I could have some speculations, but I couldn't tell you exactly. It all could depend on the calls for service as well, the type of calls we have. So just because we have the same number of calls for service, one might take 3 days of detectives coming out and processing, or patrols staying in the city for that time. And others may be a quick phone call and it's handled. So it's really hard police work's really hard to quantify. We don't know what we're preventing either. We'll never really know. When we're in your city, someone could be about to do something and see us and then drive away. That's something that, be hard to put up here. So
have you seen any difference, maybe in relation to having that sound wall up, as far as a difference in property crimes, either up or down, with less access to the city? Or are we seeing things about the same, or?
I'm not sure. I don't think we've seen a huge difference. If anybody else has, then they could speak to that. But I think it's been, in a sense, fairly the same. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
We appreciate you coming. Thank you.
You betcha.
So
Okay,
much.
anything else?
Interesting. So you service with, you said we're 15% of what, approximately in the one area.
Right.
And you service South Weaver as well.
Correct. And West Point.
And West Point.
And then we also have the Forest Service, so the entire mountain. We do a lot with the Great Salt Lake. We partner with an agency there, but we may be doing investigations. If there's a death or something, that's most likely we will handle that. We also handle a lot of the conflict cases. So if there is another city that has somebody that their police department should not be investigating, they'll typically hand that over to the sheriff's office. We have people in federal task forces as well. And so, typically so about 15% for Heights. I think it was about 15% to 20% in South Weaver. Close to half of our cases are West Point, but we have a decent amount that are outside of those cities as well. Yeah. Yes, and they have a Smiths. So the Smiths brings some stuff as well. There are a few apartment complexes that seem to increase our calls for service sometimes. But yeah, that's typically population in those businesses. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are you able to send your slides to the council? Do we have those?
Yep, absolutely.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Good deal.
do you see any trends or anything you need to be more aware of that we need to educate our residents about?
The big ones, especially as winter comes, right? Not having your car running when you're getting ready for work. So most criminals are opportunists. So they're going to check door handles. They're going to see cars running, things like that. So as far as property goes, it's securing your items, lock your doors, all that. We do not have any major issues right now whatsoever. I worked at a different police department before this, and I'm telling you, Free Heights is a nice place. So I really enjoy it. So that would be the big one. And then also reporting suspicious activity. We just encourage that very much. We'd have a couple of things that kind of took a minute to get reported. So that would be a great one. Just make sure to use us. Let us know. You guys are really out there, just as much as we are. So you're going to see things we don't.
I think, I know, having had a situation in my neighborhood recently, with drugs,
Mhm.
that the neighbors were very reluctant to point fingers at anybody.
Sure.
And so, in fact, when the neighbors called me and said, what am I supposed to do? Because I really think this, but I don't want them to think I'm that guy if it's not them. And I assured them, I said, you know, if you want to meet with the sheriff deputy somewhere outside of your place, you can do that. Just go down and meet them at City Hall, just call dispatch. And I think that's where our residents are. We want to give the benefit of the doubt to everybody.
Gotcha.
And sometimes it slows things down maybe a
So
little
a
bit.
couple of things with that. Obviously, you call and you let dispatch know you want to remain anonymous. Clearly, your number is logged that you called, but that's something that we're not going to just broadcast out. So you can talk with the deputy over the phone and see what you can resolve. We have tip lines as well. So if you don't have those, we can get those to you as well, that you can do an anonymous tip line, especially when it comes to drugs. We have multiple members of our sheriff's office with the Metro Narcotics Task Force that can also help us look into that. And our deputies love proactive work, and they love to know where the problems are, so they can.
So that might be something fun to put in our newsletter.
Good.
That tip line, because I think we have residents that, unless it's, you know, they've just not paid attention to that in the past.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden when it's in there, it's like, hey, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, well, definitely call us and we can help them
Yeah,
through it. So.
You took care of it.
Okay, thanks.
So thank you. All right, any other comments, questions from anyone?
Okay, thank you guys so much.
Thank you for coming. We really appreciate you.
Thanks for your work.
Okay, Jacob Browning has to talk to us about road safety. So if you'd like to come up, tell us where you live.
Name, where you live.
Yeah. So I'm Jacob Browning. I live at 196 North Mountain Road, just on the north end of Fruit Heights. I appreciate the sheriff's office being here, and I frequently call them to ask them for extra patrol along Mountain Road, and that's the topic that I'd like to discuss tonight. If we go down here. Now, Fruit Heights has adopted a general plan. In 2023, in section 3.3, it says slow traffic on major community corridors. Major streets running through Fruit Heights, such as Mountain Road, must balance vehicular access to the community with quality of life within it. Small changes to major streets can establish an environment where traffic moves slower, pedestrian crossings are safer and easier, and the street is more pleasant to live along. I can't agree with that more than what that states. That statement is excellent. 100% agree. Let's move along. So we're going to talk about a little bit tonight, the Fruit Heights General Plan, citations, traffic calming efforts, what's been done in the past, what is currently being done, and some suggestions. These are my personal suggestions that are, I believe, somewhat economical. Okay. I'm not going to go through all this, but ultimately it says that Mountain Road is essentially Fruit Heights Main Street. Okay? And if we go down to the next plan, it has a nice little graphic here of what's proposed in the general plan. So if you can see, there's trees, there's islands with trees in them, there's chicanes to go out where the road narrows, that just visually forces the driver to slow down. I think this plan is fantastic. However, what I might say is this is a long ways in the future. I would guess 5 to 10 years probably into the future. And what we're seeing now is a lot of speeding, unfortunately, on Mountain Road and Nichols Road, the major north-south corridors and east-west corridors in the city. Let's go to citations. So I asked the county to provide me information. I asked actually last March of 2022 exactly, for information. Then it took me a while to get to it and process it. You know, with life gets in the way, and then I called them back up and I said, "Can you send me the current information from March of 22 to July 31st?" And they did that.
So is it 2022, not 2012?
Oh, 2023. That is correct.
But the March of 2012?
March of 12. That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's almost 11 and a half years of data that I collected. So in that 11.5 years, nearly 2,000 citations have been issued. 1,703 are related to speeding. That's 85%. Here's a map of where those citations took place. Next. Do you see a trend?
Mountain Road, Nichols Road.
Mountain and Nichols, exactly. Let's scroll down to the next. Here's a breakdown of those two major corridors. Mountain Road, 747, Nichols Road, 625. Just in 2023, if you were to see, Mountain Road has 75, Nichols has 41. They're on pace for collectively a record-setting year. All right, let's look at past calming efforts that the city has taken. I don't know if I'm sure most of the residents here remember this in 2021. This is June, I believe June or July of 2021. They put those cones in the middle of the road with the speed limit sign, kind of like a little island, kind of remind everybody. And on Mountain Road, on 11 South, 95 South, and 129 South, they were in quick succession of one another. Sorry. Hey, and I thought that worked, especially the 3 in a row.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, oh yeah, it's 25. Hey, there's the sign again. It's 25. Oh my gosh, there it is for the 3rd time. It's 25 miles an hour.
Our previous city manager put that together with the help of Public Works, and it was.
Yeah. Unfortunately, winter came, snow plows, and they got hit and knocked over. Okay? So some of the current traffic calming efforts. So we have, I believe, from what I've seen in the city, 3 or 4 of the "Your Speed Is" signs within the city. 2 are currently unoperable. They're battery powered and they don't work. They've not been maintained. That one specifically is on East Oaks Drive as you go east up towards Fruit Loops. And the other one is near the bottom of Nichols Road as you head west, right before you get to the bridge going over Highway 89. And there was one that is functioning, that is solar powered. It's on Nichols Road, just west of the golf course. And as you can see, one of them, the resolution isn't that great, but this one you can actually read it. It's 32 miles an hour. I did not take that picture. So I was not going 32 miles an hour. Okay. All right, and then there is the possibility of putting those also. There are, if you can tell, here on the top of the speed limit signs, there's the apparatus to attach one of those "Your Speed Limit" sign is. Okay, and those are those 2 locations. There's also no, those are the 2, correct. All right, so those, in my opinion, work extremely well. When I'm going along the road and suddenly I see one flash at me that I'm going too fast, I automatically slow down. There will be always the argument that teenagers will see how fast they can go. Okay, that happens, and there'll be some immature adults that will do the same. But I think the majority of the people here in Fruit Heights respect that, and I think the majority of the people driving here in Fruit Heights do not speed on purpose. It's just Mountain Road is a nice, wide, long road.
That's in need of striping.
And also with no impediments along the way. No stop signs, nothing. It's just a nice, clean, straight through. All right, let's talk about some suggested traffic calming efforts. Now, I don't know how many of you have been on I-15 lately going south. I think Reagan must have a deal. It must be buy 2, get the 3rd free. Because currently, this is from November of 2022. This is just a Google Earth snapshot. Currently, it's Homey that has those 3. And it catches your attention when you see 3 billboards in a row. You're like, hey, they must want to get my attention. I need to pay attention to this. So here's one thing I thought of. multiple speed limit signs in quick succession. So I have a few locations identified here, just some screenshots. One's 3325 North Mountain Road. That's right as you get off the northbound lanes of Highway 89 and you're getting directly onto Mountain Road. Another one, 932 South Mountain Road. Essentially, those two are kind of the north and south boundaries of the city. Kind of welcome to our city. The speed limit's 25. Oh, by the way, speed limit's 25. By the way, the speed limit's 25 miles an hour. 3 in a row. Also, top of Nichols. It's going west, going down the hill. Gravity likes to pull you along. You need to be reminded of the speed limit. And also the bottom of Nichols. Also, the east and west boundaries of our city. Okay, so then if you scroll down to the next one, here's just a quick map of where those locations could be for proposed. I didn't get a screenshot, but also at the top of Nichols Road, where you cross over 89 going west. Okay, another calming effort. Now these are cheap, inexpensive ways to calm the traffic. Stop signs. This would be not as popular, but inexpensive. Okay, so I've proposed, I apologize if this isn't coming through online here, a 3-way stop there on Mountain Road and Terrace Drive. The new development coming up here is going to have 85 lots. Is that correct? 85?
It'll probably have a little bit more because there's the Barker subdivision.
Okay. So roughly 100 lots. Will be coming down. What will be Terrace Drive coming all the way down? A stop sign. Currently, there's a stop sign at the bottom of Terrace Drive. My thought is get the population used to stopping going north and southbound on Mountain Road. Now that one could be future. This one at the top of Nichols Road and Mountain Road, I think is one of the most dangerous intersections in our city. So if you're coming eastbound on Nichols Road, your sight line is extremely limited. You have to pull all the way out. You have to get the nose of your vehicle out into Mountain Road to see who's coming south and who's going north. Okay. Also proposed on Lloyd Road, that has quite a bit of foot traffic and bicycle traffic now, that it's through all the way to Main Street. So right now it's currently a 2-way stop and Nichols Road goes straight through. And you stop on Lloyd Road. And then a fourth 3-way stop at the bottom of Hidden Springs. There's quite a lot of people live up there, and stop sign at the bottom of Hidden Springs. And it would be, at least in my opinion, a good idea to have a stop sign going north and south on Mountain Road. Okay. All right, next one. Questions, comments? Okay. All right, your speed signs. I realize these are a little more expensive. They take some maintenance, but with the solar panels, they're pretty much maintenance free. Now, I was fairly liberal in these ones because we've got a lot of hills, and every place that I've located those, with the exception of coming right into the cities on the north end and coming into the city on the south. And welcome to our city, by the way, the speed limit's 25 miles an hour. Okay? And the other ones are issues where people, if you look at the map of all the different citations, and let me back up, there are 206 items that did not exactly plot correctly on Google Earth. Okay? So there were more on that map that did not plot. Okay? But all of those are on downhill slopes. Okay? Okay, next, and this will be the most unpopular one. traffic humps or speed humps. Now, I've heard quite a bit of, I've mentioned this before to individuals on the city council and the former city manager, and they say our snowplows can't manage them. Well, the snowplows also have to drive the speed limit. Our snowplows drivers are very talented. I mean, they get within 2 to 3 inches of the curb because I have to shovel all the heavy stuff that gets thrown onto my sidewalk. But an example, Antelope Drive down the east end, they have the speed humps. And that bottom one, that's in my sister's neighborhood in West Jordan. And last time I checked, West Jordan and Layton City both receive snow and have snowplows, and they make it work. And that absolutely slows traffic, speed humps. And that's all I have for my presentation. Now, I don't want to just leave here with just giving these options, but I'd like to know what the city council, how I can help move something forward.
So we are somewhat bound by federal highway standards on certain roads. So Mountain Road is considered to be is it a collector road? A minor collector road. And because of that, it has certain things we cannot and cannot do. I know years and years ago, we had a three-way stop situation on one of our collector roads, not Mountain Road, in the city, and we actually ended up being forced to take those stop signs down because of the highway standards and what we're allowed to do, because the state thinks they're supposed to be able to tell us, and they also think that if we don't do what they say, they can withhold our money.
What about some of the other options that are?
So I'm just telling you what I remember in the past on the stop sign situation. I don't, stop signs, speed limit signs, you're absolutely right, are dirt cheap. And certainly what we saw Brandon do with, and the public works guys do with those signs in the middle of the road, we felt like made a big difference. Now, there were some different things that happened before that as well, and that were tried, and the lovely state again made us take some of those out, because you have to have like those, they had to have the plastic barrel around them. That was kind of.
Yeah. And I'm not saying put them on the road. I'm saying put them three in quick succession on this, where speed limit signs typically reside.
Well,
on the side of the road.
speed limit signs are relatively cheap. So, I don't know why we wouldn't pursue doing a little bit more of that. I think one of the things with our traffic calming things, and I could be wrong, Darren, but we've kind of been struggling a little bit the last 6 months with keeping up with everything. Darren has changed his position, and with our new city manager and that kind of stuff. And I'm hoping that that's the reason that those blinking, your speed is signs are not working, is just because
They've been down since 2021.
Okay,
They've not been working.
good to know.
And the one on going east on East Oaks Road, if you look back at the map, there are 3 citations that have been issued on East Oaks. So in my opinion, that's 3. That's in the wrong location.
At the same time, I think there's a lot of speeding that goes on East Oaks. So, but if only, we don't know how many warnings were out there.
I would say the volume of traffic up East Oaks is minimal compared to Mountain Road.
Correct. I would absolutely.
And so I think effort should be placed on Mountain Road and Nichols Road, the main thoroughfares in the city.
So one of the things that I think is going to happen that we've talked about here pretty quick is we're going to be striping some crosswalks. We were, I think, hoping that striping would be completed by now, but it's not.
And in the general plan, it also talks about striping those chicanes. I'm not sure if I'm saying that word
correctly.
But
the bulbs,
the
bulb is now.
Striping those in. That's cheap.
It is cheap. And it's a way, especially where we're going to have some crosswalks, it's a way to narrow that, if you would, area of risk for those crosswalks down by having those kind of bulb out with the right there. And so there are a few places that we are hoping to have that happen soon, right?
So how can I help as a citizen
Well, Mayor,
get things moving?
Mayor Pro Tem Moss, is this something that we would put on an agenda to discuss further?
Yeah.
Um,
Or can I go out and get petitions signed or?
Jacob's suggestions, because everything's gonna take either some funds and staff's time.
Right.
And we need to prioritize, we need to actually put it on the agenda so we can have discussion and see where we can.
I think some of this are things that Jacob and Darren could just look at as, you know, as far as like striping. I mean, it's not striped yet, and there's no reason we couldn't maybe look at some of that in conjunction with the striping that we're expecting to happen.
I think what would be good is to kind of go over some of these suggestions and give you, you know, some practical, real examples from other cities.
Sure.
If they're working, we can ask those cities if those are working, and some of the costs associated, not just the initial cost, but the ongoing maintenance.
Yeah.
As well. Then we can review those and maybe prioritize what works and down to what doesn't work as much, and then we can talk about funding.
I think we would like to see that.
So to answer your question, Jake, I think give the city staff some time to
Can I-
add that to their.
Can I come back in September?
Then they come back and.
Because I would like, because I've mentioned this before in previous council meetings and no action has taken place. And so I would like to stay on it.
Sure, and I appreciate that, because I think these are, like you're saying, measures that can be implemented. We just need to stick it on there.
Yeah.
And perhaps if we look at maybe the second meeting in September, we could, at that point, maybe you could give us what the current research is. We could ask our city engineer if we can place three-way stops, if anything has changed since, you know, it's been 20 years since we had to pull those stop signs out. And so maybe we could find out what the rules are now, as far as that goes, what the rules are for this minor collector that we have, and where we can go.
Would you like me to get some quotes for your speed?
Yeah, and if you want to give me your contact
Yeah.
information, I can let you know what's on the agenda again.
Yeah, absolutely. I've worked with vendors my whole career, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for putting so much time into that, rather than just coming in and complaining, because that really does give us something.
Yeah, I
to
think-
work with.
I think the data is critical.
Yeah, and you've given us some good solutions.
And those slides, Haley has those in her possession, so.
Thank you, so get back to this.
Okay.
Bonus.
And the raw data as well, she has that as well.
Thank you, and staff, thanks for coming.
Yeah, that's my
Paula?
Another thing that we need to consider are the changes that have come about since the completion of 89.
Right.
Like there are major intersections like Nichols and Lloyd Road, the bottom of Lloyd Road. I can't tell you the number of people that just blow through that stop sign without stopping on the way down the hill. And that's a
going
major
southbound one.
change.
It is, and
Major
it's,
change, and it's a safety problem. The one at the top of the hill I use now, for Nichols Road and Lloyd.
Uh-huh.
And we have a big truck, but we still can't see people coming down Nichols Road. So I'm on, and that's a safety issue.
it is, and it's really interesting because the Highway 89 committee, every time somebody has brought that up on Facebook, I don't know if you followed that Facebook group, but they actually have a Facebook group addressing concerns on Highway 89. And people would ask questions and they would get answers, and they would say, well, we'll take that one to our contractor, or this is the answer. And over and over and over, people have asked on these bridges up and down, why are those cement walls so high that you can't see over them? And their response has continually been, it's within highway standard.
Well, still, you know, it's a safety issue if people don't stop.
It
It's
is.
a safety issue. There's a lot more kids using their bikes
Mhm.
on Boyd Road that go up to Nichols Road, you know?
To the
Now,
park.
A lot more, there's a lot more volume of cars going up Boyd Road from the Eagle Way up to Nichols, and they're speeding.
Mhm.
They are absolutely speeding, and it's just a matter of time before one of those kids on the bike's gonna get hit. Or somebody coming down Nichols on a bike, which you can't see.
Which you
because
can't
of
see.
things.
Oh, I'm not.
There are issues
Absolutely.
with all these new intersections that have been changed. And that really needs to be monitored, or I don't know how you can capture statistics on safety.
Well, and what you're saying, Paula, is why do we wait?
Until someone's
is killed.
Right.
Before we put in a stop sign.
Right.
And I will add to that, Jake, I've had several residents complain to me about that bridge through Nichols. And so I think we need to be proactive.
It's very hard to
Because we
see.
know they are dangerous, we don't have to wait for documentation, we can trust our instincts on that and then be proactive.
Yeah, it's
The bridge at Crestwood is similar to this one.
Every bridge is that way.
And the stop sign is
Yeah.
just what we have, the traffic on the bridge has to stop.
yeah.
So what UDOT gives for their thing on their response to this every time is, well, people are supposed to stop at the stop line and then gently roll forward until they can see what's really out there, because at the stop line, you can't see a thing.
But if the Nichols Road Bridge, there isn't enough clearance, like the ones going north, it's even at those ones going north, I've noticed that there's no clearance, that there isn't there at Nichols Road, it kind of comes right to the road. And
I've
so I think that it's something we need to address.
I've noticed that not only if you do stop on the bridge, but people coming down Mountain Road can't see you, so they tend to like take the corner a little bit faster because they think it's vacant. And they
You had a comment?
Yeah, it's interesting some of the things you brought up, because I went down Nichols Road today and noticed that the sign didn't blink at me. And I noticed I was going a lot faster because you can really start to fly going down because of that bridge. The other thing is when I came up Nichols yesterday on my Harley at the top of Nichols trying to turn right on the mountain, he is right, there is a blind spot for traffic going right. And I almost got hit twice because I'm trying to up a hill, get my bike to go and so forth. The thing we need to do is, when I moved here 10 years ago, there was a couple of police or sheriff that live on Mountain Road, so they always scared me that they were out patrolling, so we just need more sheriffs to live on Mountain Road.
Can a couple of you guys move in, please?
But until I realized he was off duty, then I started going faster. But an example that I have really seen was outside of our neighborhood on Mahogany. They put those, kids would come down and you could just hear it in the summertime, cars squealing. And they put those cones.
Yeah, Darren did that.
Yeah, Darren did an absolutely fantastic job.
It's
And
made
we
a
had a
big
bad
difference.
accident which created that, but now we very seldom can hear tires squeal. Every winter I've lived here, we've had somebody come down and slide off into a tree or into a house or into the property. This winter, we never had one that I'm aware of, because I think those things in the middle of the street, whoever came up with that, which I understand was Darren, did an outstanding job on that. And I think that's a great example of really calming in a certain area that was pretty dangerous.
Well, and we absolutely appreciate suggestions. I know as a council, we have sat around with the general plan and at various times and have tried to brainstorm through how do you slow people down and just trying to figure some things out. And it's a pretty difficult question. So we will continue to look at it. Okay.
I'll be back.
Okay, thank you. All right, we need to move on. At this point, we have time for public comments, and this is different than anything that was on our agenda. And this is if anyone in the public would like to take 3 minutes to address a subject near and dear to their hearts. Go ahead. Oh, I think you have to come up and state your name for this one.
Officially, so we can,
Okay.
have a record.
Okay.
Yeah, so our recording secretary can.
Okay. Mark Cottrell, 1646 Marabella Way. And the reason why I was interested in tonight was because the sheriff's department was here. And I live in a gated community, and when I first moved in, we had difficulties making sure the sheriff had access to our gates, and we gave him codes, which on both gates are different, which doesn't make sense, but the sheriff department seems to have those correctly now. We've also added sirens, so you can open the gate that way to help. We had a situation with those cones I was just talking about where we had some kids from Farmington in a golf cart that were coming down Mahogany and hitting those things square on. So they were in the middle of the road. When they would go up Mahogany, they were on the wrong side of the traffic. And right there's a bend. So I reached out to the sheriff department. They had an officer there within an hour. He put in a complaint. We started watching our cameras. We were able to get them. They had the sheriff department there a couple nights trying to patrol because we had a window of opportunity where the kids were usually there. He either showed up a little bit late or a little bit too early and we missed him, but then finally we got him on camera, reported it to the sheriffs. They finally did catch him, but I was very impressed with the two sheriffs that I dealt with. And I like seeing them drive through our community, particularly on our street gated, because the day they came in to receive the complaint from me, two neighbors said, "Oh, did you see that? There was a sheriff driving in our street, so he must know how to get in through the gate." And so I just want to just say thank you to the sheriff department. My dealings with them with this situation has been wonderful. The two officers I dealt with were great. And when we did get the kids caught, we had 4 sheriffs show up. We really only needed 1, but I think all 4 of them scared these 14, 15-year-olds to death because they were destroying property and it was very reckless driving. So I just wanted to come and say thanks to the sheriff department.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. Anyone else? Okay, seeing nothing else, we're going to move on. Our next agenda item is 6.1, review, discuss, approve, deny sidewalk, and I'm going to say sidewalk change for Rockloft Ridge. Did everyone have a chance to read the letter from Weaver Basin? Weaver Basin is requesting that instead of sidewalk on both sides of the road, which is our city standard, that in that particular area, they would like us to take the weight off of the aqueduct by only using sidewalk on one side of the road. Our mayor has spoken with our Jones and Associates, our city engineer, and they believe that while we do need to continue with our city standard on sidewalk on both sides of the road, it is appropriate to make this change in this area. So do we have further questions on that? Okay. Is your mic on?
I can't hear myself, so.
Is it? Yeah, it's on, okay. Maybe put it up on your.
So my question is, if we remove the sidewalk, doesn't that put a car onto that area? Or is it just a grassy part? Are we concerned about the weight of the concrete of the sidewalk?
That is what they're concerned about, is the weight of the concrete of the sidewalk.
Does it just go to a yard type of land?
Darren knows the answer here.
So,
what's gonna replace it?
So this started with the developer probably about a month and a half ago. They had Weaver Basin out inspecting and doing some things up there, and Weaver Basin realized with the fill that was required to put across that aqueduct in that area, they missed it on the plans. They put a different load on it because instead of just sloping off to the side of the road into the yard, now you've got
7 feet coming back. And then begin to slope off the driveways, and then your slopes are gonna be, just a lot different. So it created more weight than they would like on the aqueduct.
So is this
Is this
Where
in
phase
somebody's
two is,
yard,
or
or is
phase
this
one?
right where it's crossing? This is,
So no, it's along the whole, west side of the road where the aqueduct comes down. So the aqueduct is actually on the edge of the road,
So I
just
don't
off
know.
the edge.
I don't know which road it is, but there's.
So it's the main 1800 East Rockoff Road.
Oh, okay, so
Going
the one
across.
up above.
Yeah,
Terrace-
the outer road
Terrace
there's,
Drive.
yeah, Terrace Drive comes up and joins into it. So it's that west road right there, or the road that runs north and south.
So that almost the top road.
Yeah, it is the top road. Okay. And so the sidewalk and all that stuff runs down right now with our approved plans. And we were basically approved these plans. I do want you to remember that. It's something they missed on their plans. I talked with Weaver Basin, because I didn't want this to be the developer saying, hey, I'm gonna save a bunch of money if I don't have to put in a sidewalk, and I can eliminate all this, and be ahead of the game. I talked to Weaver Basin, last week. They called and they talked to me about the concern, something that they missed on the plans. They said they'd never asked the city to change their policies or anything, but they asked if the city would be willing to remove that side to help them out on the load on that.
how long is the sidewalk that we're talking about? Is
It
this
would stay on the west side from both ends of the subdivision right there.
the whole west
That
side?
whole west side would be eliminated. So we just have a sidewalk on the east side, kind of like Mountain Road. You have a 6-foot walk, back a curb on one side, for the majority of it up through there.
And then the rest of their subdivision, like where it comes down, that little area there, that would still have sidewalk on both sides?
Terrace Drive will have sidewalk on one side.
Their one little part where it comes, they have the part that drops to the west and.
Going down into the cul-de-sac, they will
Yeah.
still have sidewalk coming down into the cul-de-sac.
On both sides.
And that is on both sides. Terrace Drive would be one side. That's all that's coming up Terrace Drive to the subdivision right now. And with walls and stuff like that, it would be better just to have the sidewalk on the south side of Terrace Drive coming out to match what's currently there. So there's a couple different spots, but
Is that okay?
Matt actually
He's probably
talked to the mayor first, and said we're having this discussion. And once again, our engineer, Brandon Jones, he likes sidewalk on both sides of the road.
And that is our city standard.
And is our city standard, and his reasoning is what about the future if, all those residents want sidewalk at that time? Which could happen. Most of the time, I'm gonna say that's not gonna happen. I am good with sidewalk on one side of the road. I look at it as a maintenance issue. I'm only having to repair one side, budget to repair one side, not two sides of the road. I think the road we designed to go from 1800 east to south end to Farmington. We've designed that with the sidewalk only on one side. We didn't put it on both sides for that. But I think this is the council's decision. Weaver Basin's letter really does explain some of the issues. And once again, Weaver Basin said they want to maintain a working relationship with the city, but this is a concern of theirs they missed in the process. And they would like to work with the city to help resolve some issues they have.
So is it smart for them to come up with this right now, rather than build the sidewalk and then break it off?
I think this is a very good catch before everything is. Along with this, and there's some areas that they've actually asked to lower the road a little bit to help take some of the load off the aqueduct.
So lower the fill on the road?
Yep.
Okay. Jake?
So are they also going to be eliminating driveways that go across the aqueduct?
No, they won't.
So in my opinion, I'm just a mechanical engineer, I'm not a civil engineer. But loading on a concrete surface with a vehicle is much greater than loading on a sidewalk with a pedestrian.
So there's some different things there too. There are special things they have to do in each driveway to expand the loading a lot farther. So it's not just in one spot.
So
It's
distribute
extended over.
Distribute the.
Yeah, and along with that, the developer is required to install all the driveways. So it's not a homeowner that'll be coming in and installing the driveway with the aqueduct. It'll actually be the developer that has to come and install it.
So do they span it somehow with the driveway?
Yeah, they do a span, they do over the high pressure gas lines and those kind of things. It's a different kind of concrete and all that that's been approved by Weaver Basin and the Corps of Engineers and all that kind of stuff.
Have they done a pipe stress analysis? Have they provided that?
I believe that Weaver Basin's got all that kind of stuff.
I don't see that they did a pipe stress analysis.
Well, other than they've got their A, B, and C pipe with their.
That's the class pipe.
So it did in advance, so.
Weaver Basin maintains that pipe. They have to do all the stuff for millions of years. So,
So
it
according
just,
to staff, this is a good call, and we should approve this. Is that what you're saying? You're approving this, right?
Approve or deny.
You're looking for a
motion.
I am looking for motion.
Are we, when we approve this, we're just gonna roll forward with it, there's no documentation saying why we did this, there's no.
no, there will be, that was the other thing that I come back, because I don't ever want to come back and say, hey, we just did this because, Weaver Basin's letter is part of that. I didn't want something from the developer saying, hey, we went and met with Weaver Basin, this is what we want. I actually wanted Weaver Basin to propose it to the city, if that's really truly what they wanted. I think I probably spent 45 minutes on the phone with Weaver Basin discussing options and those kind of things.
So
Weaver Basin is the one that wrote the letter and presented it.
So Matt's gotta go back and update those drawings, right?
Yes, and that is part of it. He's got to go through redesign some things and come back in with new drawings. In the areas where they have to lower the road, they've had to go in and I think they're one step ahead of themselves, but they've had to go in and tear out all the sewer because the elevations of the road changing and stuff like that. Are now going to be different.
It's a good sign to catch now, rather than deal with it, push it down the road.
Well, and then if there's, we're aware that the driveways also need to be addressed as part
Well,
of.
so the driveways were in the structural part of it.
Okay.
There is a drawing and everything what is required for each driveway. That was taken into account.
Okay.
And they said that still is required. It's kind of the same thing down here at the south end of 1800 when we're proposing to build a road and do a water line. There are some things the city's gonna be required to do because of the class of pipe, which will require shipping and expense and all that kind of thing to maintain those things. So,
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the sidewalk change for Roth Loft Ridge.
I'll send it.
We have a motion by Flo and a second by Diane. Would like some discussion on the motion?
Yes, I'd like to discuss the motion. This is an ordinance, correct? The two sidewalk is an ordinance, sorry, I'm there, sorry, the two sidewalk is an ordinance.
it's in our subdivision standard.
It's not an ordinance.
It's not an ordinance, it's just in our standard. That's what we do is we just have sidewalk. But we have sidewalk that we've had installed where it's only on one side of the road.
Right.
So if somebody said, I don't want sidewalk either, we're just gonna say it's a standard. My only concern is, how are we gonna, well, I know we got the document.
So there's been situations, so like on Mountain Road, where we ended up with sidewalk on only one side. So what happened is our city engineer went through, we said, our design says we want sidewalk on both sides, and he went through and he came, you know, he said Mountain Road is this white here, but this white here, but this white here, but this white here, and you can't have your cake and eat it too. If you want sidewalk, there's no room for it except for on one side. And so the exception was made for Mountain Road. And so it's just an exception to city standard. It's not an ordinance.
So, yeah, it's not changing city standard.
No, it's not changing. It's an exception is what it comes out to be.
Yeah.
And that's the reason I want to know the documentation for this came to the council.
Because we don't.
Because we want this recorded, hey, we have documentation. So when we have another developer coming in and saying, hey, let them guys do it for no reason. No, we have a reason. Here's what it is. This is the reason why we went this way. And so we have all that documentation. And that's why I've got the letter and all that kind of stuff. I wanted to bring it to the council that way.
What was
Yes, I just want to make sure it wasn't an ordinance. If it was like an ordinance, I would want to
No.
modify the
Okay,
ordinance.
no, it's city standard, just a little
what was the reasoning for eliminating the sidewalk up Terrace Drive on the north side?
It goes into well, we don't have anywhere the big wall is, and I can't put any there. And then the way it went into the detention pond, and then those lots coming up there have walls and stuff like that. And, so we just kind of stuck with the one sidewalk coming up to one side.
Will they have?
So people aren't coming across all the way through there, they're coming up the sidewalk.
And the other difference is city standard has changed in the last 25 years. If you look at the west side of the highway, over in Country Lane, Country Way area, there's no sidewalk. And we were a city that for a while, we were kind of this lazy city and people didn't want any sidewalk. And at some point in time, we went through and changed the city standard and said, wait, we have enough people, on children on bikes and walkers and different things, that sidewalk is a beneficial thing. And the planning commission made that recommendation and with the advice of the engineer. And so the city standards were changed and put in place. And I think that may have happened around 2005.
Green Road going down.
Yeah. Right, because that's because that's how we used to build it, but we've changed.
Isn't our current standard to go 6 feet?
Yes, our current standard is 6 foot back.
That's right.
So.
Are we expecting to see an updated drawing before the council, or are we just leaving that lever base and?
No, it'll go through review with the engineer and myself, and we'll go through it, make sure everything's still where it needs to be.
So we've had a motion and a second. We've had some discussion. All in favor of the motion? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none opposed, the motion carries. The next thing that we have is we have a fairly significant maintenance project for our streets. Some years we save money up trying to work towards streets and we do small projects. Some years we spend a lot of money doing some bigger projects. And this is a lot of money time, right?
This is a lot of money time, yes.
And so do you want to go ahead and talk us through that, Darren?
So this year we put out the bid to reconstruct one of our main roads. We're on the west side, which is Raymond Road. It's met its road life probably about 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago. And so that is our biggest portion of the cost of the road work. There's also a couple other roads that we're just going to mill and overlay at this time. Nichols, between the 89 project and our projects over the last few years, we're going to just finish that road out, get rid of all the potholes there, and then some over on Terrace Drive and State Way. That's our biggest portion. The other portions that fall into that are chip seals and crack seals, and we'll be doing those in the springtime.
So, Darren, if I could ask, for a while we kind of went away a little bit from doing the chip seals because they're never popular with the public. And I'm just wondering, has something changed that we're going to be back doing chip seals?
So we've kind of changed the way we did chip. We've done chip seals over the last few years. So we've been doing chip seals again probably for the last 8 years, 10 years. We now, we do the chip seal, we come back in a couple days later, put a fog coat over it, which helps seal it. So it doesn't get as spread as much. Just a reminder on a chip seal for the cost of it will add about 10 years of life to a road. So if you're able to chip seal a road within the first 3 years, instead of that road lasting 12 to 15 years, that road should hit 20 years. Depending on, just your regular crack seal maintenance and that kind of thing. If you just go in with a slurry seal, you're only adding about a year and a half. So there's different options there. A chip seal is very cheap. We've changed the style of chip we use. Now, 3 different kind of aggregates.
Is it that lighter weight stuff?
Yeah, it's an A, B, and C. So we go with a smaller chip, so we don't have the bigger chips, which get pressed down in the emulsion better. If you want to look at some of the roads we've done in the last couple of years, Harvey Road is one of them. And you can look at it, we had very little fill up. But the road itself is in very good shape, to the point where we were basically came through with their line. But there's over by you, Edge Hill and Green Road, both of those are chip sealed, country lane, I should say. Those were chip sealed and they were fog coated, which I think creates a better surface and a better connection.
So you're making the recommendation that we award, you had this bid in different sections and you also had it bid together, and the staff report suggests that we are recommending to award all sections of this to Staker Parson companies, feeling like their collective bid is the best for our city of $873,296.23.
So Darren, in your explanation, you talked about the alternate bid being split into two time frames.
Yes.
But you never said when Staker Parsons would actually be able to finish their whole.
So the way we did this is this project ends. I think the deadline we put was May of 2023 or 2024, except for Raymond Road. Raymond Road has a deadline this fall because it won't make another winter, I don't think. So it has a deadline this fall. I didn't want to push to do chip seals late in the year because that's the other time you have issues. Because you don't have all the traffic and everything over the 4, 5, 6 months of getting everything really solid and everything like that. So chip seals will be put off till springtime for sure. The mill and overlays may still happen this fall.
Are we going to be in the middle of those when the weather turns? Is this what's the chances we'll be in the middle of something when the weather turns? Are we going to watch
that? So actually, we got a hold of Staker Parsons to make sure that we would be on their schedule and be able to have at least Raymond Road finished by a deadline, and I think it's October 15th.
October 20th is what our memo says.
So they replied back, yes. We will have it finished by that time. So they will bump their schedule around to make sure Raymond Road is started and completed by that date. The other roads may not get done this fall, which is okay.
But they're not going to tear them up and then leave them.
No. They will not start them unless they know they can have them finished. Okay. And that's just part of it. We had a big long discussion about that process.
So it almost sounded like in your explanation that you were saying that I'm not going to say that it was money saved, but in certain ways we're saving money because we're not spending extra staff hours to manage multiple contractors.
Right, that's one of it.
Multiple aspects of each project.
Yeah, it is easier for us as a city and staff, as small as we are, to be able to work with one contractor to accomplish all the projects that we have coming out in front of us, and being able to make sure things are running smoothly.
And is there?
I know they weren't the cheapest bid.
Yeah, so you have advanced paving have a little cheaper bid, and you're recommending Staker Parson.
Yes. So we've had Advanced here working in the city a few years ago. We ran into some issues. They didn't want to warranty their work, and it was 3 or 4 months of arguing back and forth, this and that, and not being able to get our projects completed at the price that we agreed upon. Talking with the engineer, they've had some issues this year with the same thing with advanced paving.
In other cities.
In other cities.
Okay.
And so I felt that we would be better served by Staker Parsons and save money in the long run without change orders and those kind of things that may come up with the other companies.
Because they may have put a little extra in there to cover the.
Well, yeah, there was a couple calls made by, and it's just, you know, he said, he should have said, but saying, well, if we run into this problem, we're gonna have to change order for this and this. And if you read the bid documents, that is in the bid documents, those things can be covered. So if you're not putting in that in your bid to get the bid, I'm not gonna give you a change order for it.
Let's go ahead and see if we have a motion on this.
I'll make a motion to approve the Staker Parsons bid for
$873,296.23.
Sorry, my computer went dead. So 873.
8,296.
$873,000.
$296.
And
$23.
23 cents.
Do we have a second? Okay, we have a second from Diane with the motion being made by Gary. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Do we have any opposed? Motion carries.
Can I ask a question since we, not related to the actual bid? Have we done all the work on Reed Raymond Road that needs to be done before we, so we don't have to dig it up again? Or
Yes.
is it- Thank you.
So our next item is to approve some city council minutes from, the minutes say June 16th. The meeting was actually June 15th, so we need that correction on those minutes, if I recall correctly. On the minutes, so are we just like adding a number now for every sentence? This is a change? Okay.
Those are referenced in the final minutes, those comments.
Okay, in the final minutes. Okay, so on corrections, on line 12, where it says he explained there is 1.81, I think it should be there are 1.81 because it's more than one. So if we could change that word to are. On line 14, talking about Assistant City Manager Darren Branson, I think it's important to have your last name on that, Darren. Do we have other corrections to these minutes?
I move that we approve the.
Oh, I do. Sorry. If you'll hang on just a second. On some of these, I found them confusing to read. On line 18, it said, we hope when this construction takes place, these pipes are not broken, and I think that was Mr. Belknap speaking, and in all of these that say we, and there's quite a few of them in here on line 23, the third line down. It says, we are not asking to receive property from Fruit Heights, we already have an easement. That, I believe, was Belknap's talking, not the city. And I think if we use the word we need to be talking about the city in our minutes. So
I think he used the word we because he was talking about him and his client.
Right.
But yeah, I agree with you.
I think in our minutes, it needs to reflect that it was Mr. Belknap speaking for his client.
I totally agree with
And
that.
so if, Haley, you could go through and do a search and replace on that for where the minutes are using we, even though that's what he said. I think we need to distinguish that is Mr. Belknap speaking. And then on line 21, I was trying to discern what it meant there. The reservoir was built with county funds on county property. The property was transferred to Fruit Heights City without information on the deed. No mention of the Green Street Reservoir. What does that last sentence mean? Does anyone recall what we were trying to say or do there?
Wasn't he saying that the city shouldn't have that much control over it or something? That's the idea I got.
That's right, I believe he was talking about that when he was transferred, or for the property and the reservoir, the agreement wasn't transferred with the deed.
Okay.
What he was talking, so when he says with the Green Street Reservoir, the lease agreement wasn't transferred.
Okay. So how can we make that sentence better?
So you say no mention of the Green Street Reservoir agreement.
Yes, I think that's what he's just come out with an agreement at the end.
Okay, like add the word agreement?
Yeah.
Okay, I think that would help.
I don't know if makes any difference, so I actually we just erase sentence 24. I don't know if that makes any impact. We've already heard enough from Attorney Bill on that.
Yeah.
I don't really feel like lines 24 have anything to do with it. So I just vote scratch it.
Does anyone disagree with that?
It's fine.
I think it's fine. The other thing that we have is we opened back into public meeting at 7:39, and then we went back into closed meeting at 7:55. I think there needs to be a sentence right there above item number 29 that just says, during our open meeting, there was further discussion held concerning trying to work out an arrangement. But the way it looks, it just kind of looks like nothing happened between 7:39 and 7:55. So if we could, do you agree? Okay. Does anyone disagree with that?
No, that's right.
Okay. Okay. And then the other thing is on line in section 31, where it says the city will make sure that the road is sleeved with the Hayes Creek engineer providing specs. Is the city doing that, or is the developer doing that?
It's the developer.
The developer is putting this sleeve.
So I think the city will make sure that the developer,
Yeah, I think we need to be clear on that.
yeah, I think it needs to say the city will make sure that the road is sleeved by the developer in there. So just add those couple of words as well.
John was actually pretty clear that during that conversation that the city was responsible with that. He wasn't going to say anything about the developer. That was all us. But with the unspoken agreement that we were going to do it on the backside. So it really wasn't a part of the conversation.
You didn't think it was?
No.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree. That was kind of the sentiment, is
Okay.
that it was the city's responsibility to make sure
it happens.
that the contractor made it happen.
Okay. So you'd like to just leave that. That's fine. Okay, any other changes to those? Entertain a motion.
I'll move again that we approve the minutes of June 15 as corrected and improved.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Diana, second by Flo to approve the minutes of June 15th, 2023. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None opposed. Motion passes. Moving on to the city council minutes of June 20th, 2023. Any corrections or additions to those minutes?
Yes, line 27. Where it says, Mayor John Coleman felt that it was a discussion with Hayes Creek and would resolve it quickly. We don't know what. Thank you, Sheriff's Department. We really appreciate you coming.
Thank
Sorry,
you for the
Diane.
good job that you
Go
do in
ahead.
our city. We appreciate your.
Oh, I would agree with that, and to
Thank you.
say,
Thank you.
with, and resolve it quickly, and would resolve it quickly. How would you like that to be worded?
I just don't know. I just scratch, I would resolve it quickly. Felt that a good discussion with Hayes Creek, period, and thank the council members for their participation.
On June 15th, the last meeting, okay?
Because I don't think we need more information. And on 28, instead of John Coleman will read the file, it's read the file.
I think that's, yes, and I think that's what you said. I was trying to figure out files, and it made no sense, so.
Bio, B-I-O, the tribute.
Bio.
We'll read the tribute.
Yeah,
Tribute?
It's a tribute to the unsung hero.
well, one of the things we can't do is we can't say what we didn't say. So I think the word you used was bio, so let's go ahead and leave that. Because we're not Congress, we don't have that ability to change what we said. We actually have to go with what we said. And I believe your word was bio, so. Okay.
That's just fine.
And then on line 29, did you have any others, Diane? Okay, on line 29, Mayor John Copeland reported that he contacted Sheriff Sparks and requested information and quotes for the upcoming budget year, so that we know what that is applying to. And I think that we talked about it being for the upcoming budget year. So if we could add those words.
Upcoming budget years.
Yes, after the word quotes for the upcoming budget years, we'll hopefully have the numbers for the next meeting. Then on line 32, July 2nd, Unsung Hero Celebration is really our patriotic devotional.
That's great. Yeah.
And so maybe to reverse that order there, patriotic devotional and Unsung Hero Celebration. And then Darren, on line 37, where you were talking about installing the water meters, you certainly aren't done with the whole city. I mean, Hates Creek isn't done with the whole city, and I wouldn't want people to think that we were completely done. So do we maybe need to, I think you stated in there that where you have installed those water meters?
So, yeah, it was just those special district.
Yeah.
The city's irrigation system.
Right, so maybe can we just add merely finish installing water meters for the East Oaks irrigation system? Just, and I believe you did say that. We just need that clarification in there if we could. Any other?
I move that we approve city council minutes from June 20th as corrected.
Thank you, Flo. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, George. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I hope I said aye, I meant to. Okay, our next is our consent calendar. George, what are our city expenditures looking like and our financial report?
I didn't have a chance to review it. It got posted just a couple hours ago.
Okay.
So I will look through it. If there's anything that needs to be discussed, I will bring it to the next council.
All right. Do we have any other follow-up items from previous meetings, Darren or Jacob?
I just got some stuff for Founders Day. I know Flo, we talked about this a little bit, but.
Let's wait just a second, because that's going to be your report instead of follow-up. Okay, so just a second. So now we're going to go to city council and manager reports. So I'm going to do the council first. So Gary, do you have anything?
I don't.
Flo?
We have been working on Founders Day plans, and it sounds like it'll be fun.
Okay, do you want to expound any more than that?
Read the stuff, what is it? Read the Ridge Runner.
Okay, read the Ridge Runner.
All kinds of fun stuff.
Good, all right, George.
Nothing.
On that note, for conversation, I just make a comment that I believe there's an LDS board that's going to have a board party at the same night. I don't know if you're aware of that, Flo, maybe you are.
It's, according to what we found out, it's a family reunion, not an LDS ward. That's what.
It's an actual board party.
Okay, well, that was different than what was reported to us.
And I don't know if there's nothing we can really do about it, I just want to make you aware.
So it's over there?
It's over at the gallery.
Oh, that's too bad.
So it may take, I mean, it may add to our celebration, in case you were planning to use any of the parking.
I'm sure we are planning.
We were, we talked to the, what do you call it? The scheduler that you gave me the name for. And so.
So you didn't schedule the gallery?
Mediate at all, I can say something.
Is it your ward?
Oh, thank you, that would be a good idea.
Yeah, because I think we were trying to schedule the Bowery as part of it, so I'm not sure what happened.
The conversation is the first weekend of August, so I don't know if that's how they were going, because, anyway. do you just want me to tell them, what do you want me to do?
Yes, if you would please mention that to them, because they might want to know. Yeah, that we're having a big event here as well. And we were hoping to use some of that parking space. Because we figured that the family reunion wouldn't take very much of the, we thought that it was, that they had the Bowery as well, or whatever. We just thought it wouldn't take very much of their space, and so we would be free to use some of the other parking spaces.
I will be happy.
So that's a surprise.
Yeah.
Okay, Diane, do you have anything that, in your reports?
I just want to say how cool it was to do the 4th of July parade and the 4th of July breakfast with Kaysville. It was great to meet the city manager and the board here.
And they were very gracious.
Very gracious, and I think we we're at the beginning of the parade as we have been in the past, so
yeah,
it seems like there's some good relations going on with them. Parade was an amazing success. Kudos to Kaysville for making it work, and I was proud of us. I think we obeyed all the rules that we were asked. And our UC council was amazing. Their float, their decorating truck was great. Some hero thanks to people who offered their vehicles. The service cycle was amazing. And it was just
we had fun, didn't we, Flo?
Really great event. I think we had enough. We'll never have enough candy, but thank you very much.
Well, and it was interesting because Case almost had too much, and they kept stopping the parade and reloading their candy, and then by the end they were just dumping bags, and that was a little unfortunate, but I felt like we made our fun.
Yeah.
Well,
that's probably why they had too much, right? Anyway, thanks to all, because I just think it's a wonderful community building between our two cities, and we were worried at first, but it's very nice. The breakfast was amazing, although we do not get a very large percentage of our residents.
We have quite a few. I think it depends on who you know.
Well,
So I think, Flo recognized quite a few people, and I recognized quite a few people. And
numbers, there are.
But they make a lot of money on that for the Star, and the Star is certainly something we in our community enjoy. So my report is that on the emergency preparedness end, from our Citizen Core Council, Bob Fowler, who has been a member of our Citizen Core Council for a lot of years, has formally resigned from our Citizen Core Council, and he is also our CERT coordinator, and he would like to step back into being more of an advisory role. He has so much knowledge and training that he is happy to share, but he feels like it's time for him to be a little more retired. So we'll be looking for an additional member for our Citizen Core Council, and also looking towards beefing up our CERT program here in the next little while. Our CERT program has kind of been on the back burner, and we're needing to beef it up. We need more people to get CERT certified that don't have my color of hair.
Will this be an opportunity on Bob or something that the city council meeting to extend our appreciation?
I think we should, but I was going to kind of ask.
I wish we would.
Okay.
Because
So
also that does promote it and put it in the vision.
Yeah.
That gives you an opportunity.
So Jacob, at our next meeting, could we do a little honor for Bob Fowler? That'd be great. Thank you.
Or ask or whatever. I mean, seriously, we need to appreciate these people that give so much. I don't want to lose them.
And we have a lot of great background people, and the emergency preparedness people are really background people. They're really great.
We almost should set aside a regular meeting each year, just to bring them all in.
We used to for a while. We used to feed them pizza. Do you remember that? And it kind of went away with. What do you think, Jacob? Can we go back to doing that? We used to bring in the Citizen Core Council and our area coordinators, and we've done it either here at the City Hall or down at the Boweries, and just done like a little pizza party. And
so kind of like a volunteer recognition.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe a couple of pictures or something like that. Maybe we could schedule that into October, so that it's not so hot but not too cold, and then we could do it down at the Bowery. It's a fun place to do it. one reason we've done it here is so we could do a recognition with city council as well. But I think, I know in the past we've invited city council members to come. So,
We could do it at our sports council.
well, I think it might be fun to do it down the Bowery too, though.
So is this one of those things that COVID kind of killed and it didn't?
I think it kind of died before that, and I don't really know because, you know, my on again and off again time on the council and different things. I think it's just kind of got, I think it got lost.
He's been there for 50 years, so.
We've done it twice in 10 years.
Hey.
Okay. Yeah, so I think we did it more consistently when I was first, you know, when we were working on things, and then I was over emergency preparedness for a while, and anyway, things get lost sometimes, but I think that's a great thing. I think we should do it again. So. I'm someone who can't eat pizza, I'm happy to say, let's do something different.
About an ice cream social in December.
An ice cream social would be probably good.
Substantial.
Or not substantial, as the case may be.
That is the case.
Yeah.
Something nice to show our appreciation.
Yeah. Well, Jacob and I can talk about that too. We'll make it happen. Okay, now let's talk about manager reports. So Darren, let's go with you first.
Okay, so I'm gonna just report a little bit on Founder's Day, so you guys have an idea of what's kind of planned. There'll be car shows, some live music, food trucks, and those things will kind of take care of themselves. We need a lot of volunteers to help with those things.
And we'll be here at this park and this
I'll be
area.
here at this park.
Will the building be open? So
Yeah, we'll have the building open. So
for the quilt show?
yes, down in the basement. Yeah, down in the basement. So, and then we'll have the restaurants open here. We'll probably bring in some proposals.
Okay.
But, we will need volunteers to help, and I think this will be, great for the council members if they can help us with this. The garbage cans will be out and stuff like that to make sure they're being emptied. We got the chalk art that will be going on. We have, ice cream that the council said they wanted to do that needs to be served and handed out. So we need to make sure there's volunteers for that. Water bottles, we providing water for individuals. So there'll be places that we have water. We need to make sure that continues to be stocked and those kind of things. So there are some things.
Last year, the water bottles seemed to be in short supply.
Well, do we want to do water bottles, or do we just want to do the 5-gallon
I'm
jugs?
just saying that if you're going to do that, I don't know if there's a problem this year, but last year we had to make cost overruns because.
Well,
I think we're able to get water this year a lot easier than we could.
because we're here.
Yeah, just this year has been a little bit easier to get it, so.
And maybe if we did it just outside the basement doors and we just had those 5-gallon jugs, that way we could use the ice from the fridge right there and throw water in them real easy if we just had that be a water station right down there.
Yeah, I mean, I just knew we needed to provide water, and then somebody brought up water bottles, so that was, to make sure it's staying full and
I think-
get a drink of water and those kind of things. And so I just think we need to have some volunteers, and so as a staff, we're hoping that the city council will get some volunteers to help out with this.
So can we get, so some of us are running for
Yes.
city council.
Some of you are running for city
And
council,
so
so
we
I
may have
think
to-
those individuals running for city council should have their spouses.
Yeah, that's what I think.
As a volunteer and help out when possible.
Yeah.
Or those kind of things, but, they're put a lot of work into this, the ladies are, they've got a lot of things planned, activities and different things. But, as Flo knows, and especially after Thursday, they're gonna have a little bit of a meeting too, but, we're really gonna need some volunteers to help out with this success.
Yeah. That sounds good. Sounds good. August 26th, so coming up, just in, we'll have one more council meeting before then. Anything else, Darren?
And that's what I have.
Do you want to talk to us about any Highway 89 issues or road striping issues or?
So, we did a walkthrough with Weaver Basin and a contractor on Mountain Road. Some things they gotta fix and there's some things we're gonna take care of, so they're finishing up those punch lists. I was hoping it would already be striped. It hasn't yet, so.
And is that striping going to include where we've talked about the crosswalks, or is that?
So the crosswalks will be on the city, and
Yeah.
so when I do my striping on some of my other roads, I'll have them come in with the crosswalks.
Okay, and then maybe we talk about maybe some of those road calming things at the same time as with our other city.
So if you want to talk about that kind of stuff right now, just so you know, stop signs for speed control are illegal. If there is an accident and the stop sign is not justified and it's just for speed control, which that would be on Mountain Road, the city would be 100% liable for that. State and federal statutes.
So
And that's the reason the stop signs came down in those neighborhoods, because one of the biggest reasons is that liability insurance complications we will not cover. If there's an accident, the red city will be 100% liable for the cost of that if they sue the city.
what about at the interface of Nichols and Mountain Road?
Even on Nichols, so you gotta remember, Mountain Road is a collection road, it's a minor collection road, and that's how it's marked with the state and with the federal government. So in order to get funds, EDC road funds and those kind of things, Mountain Road's gonna be maintained as a collection road. So you start stopping traffic and you stop doing these things, it changes the designation of that road, and city will start to lose out. So I wanted to make it aware, stop signs,
But just
used
because
for speed control are not.
at the top of Nichols,
It's really difficult to
it
see.
is a challenge.
I think there's some other things we could do there
Okay.
that doesn't affect the status of the road.
Okay.
Could we,
You know,
I know one of the
I think
things we
some
learned
things
about.
people need to remember, it's our neighbors that are getting the tickets.
Right.
90% of the tickets in Fruit Heights City are Fruit Heights City residents.
But that's what we're trying to protect.
And those are the people that we're trying to protect, and those are the people that are also breaking the law. And I think that's something that, you know, we need to understand. You could go back and probably look at those citations, and very few of them would be non-residents. I still remember a day we put up a speed limit sign, and the guy complained about it over in Creekview, complained about it and yelled that we changed it to 25. That afternoon, you got to take it to 45 down here. And then he was upset with the city because he got a speeding ticket and he was in a hurry and it shouldn't apply to him because he lives in that neighborhood. So I'm telling you, it's education and it's our own selves that we need to do that.
And
There are
certainly,
traffic calming things that we can do, but once again, we don't want anything that's going to be a liability to the city or those things.
and the other thing that we can have to consider is and perhaps traffic does dictate some sort of something because of, you know, adding 100 homes or something. And so if traffic dictates things, it's a little different than just as a traffic calming. But that may be a situation where you start looking at a small roundabout like they have done on Antelope in Layton, where it's just a kind of a real small kind of roundabout, but it still allows traffic to go through at the same time as.
And they've done that, the state's done that on some of the roads they own out west, or east-west. They've put roundabouts in those cities. It's a state road, so it is something, but once again, it's not stopping traffic. Traffic still has free flow as it goes through. People just slow down.
Yeah.
So,
And on that note, can you generate a letter to Jacob Browning, maybe giving 3 or 4 bullet points in response, because that might, you know, is that okay?
Well, in talking with him.
He's gonna come back
He
anyway.
can come back
Yeah.
to the meeting that we have in September and listen to. I mean,
I think we're
looking at
guys.
recommendations, we have some ideas and like we're discussing now, really crunch some numbers
Can we-
and talk about the pros and cons.
Can we look at, is there a possibility of looking at getting a couple more, here's your speed with the solar panel?
Yeah, I would
Just-
I probably have that in my budget.
Okay.
And
Just to try to
maybe
budget
adding
in
some
my
speed
side.
limit signs. I noticed that when they put the one up on Nichols Road for a long time, it's like, so what is the speed limit on Nichols Road? It's like, oh, look, there's the speed calming sign. It's blinking at me if I'm going 28, so it must be 25. And so I think it is not well marked throughout our city. And I think for the price of maybe 6 or more 25-mile-an-hour signs, it might be worth it. I think that's something that could happen, just.
Yeah, and I'm sure the student budget, we can go through it a lot closer.
And then getting our other two devices to start working again.
Because it is our residents, and we just have to keep putting it out on social media and maybe our returners remember that. Yeah, and that they're going faster than we think.
Well, and I'll throw it out there too, there's a lot of times people standing on the side of the road think you're doing
Yeah.
50 miles an hour and you
Right.
It's
So,
just-
And we've
so
had that
perception is a
very
huge
much.
thing, yeah, and it is, we put up the Armadillo on Mountain Road.
Yeah,
At the north end, and the average speed was 32 miles an hour
not.
for a month. The average speed was 32 miles an hour for a month. So,
Okay, Jacob, do you have something you'd like to add?
I just wanted to give you guys a heads up, because we didn't put it on here, potential future agenda items. We do have our CIPs, our capital improvement plans that are being finished up by our engineering firm. So expect to see some presentation on that, approval of those. Along with that, we're gonna be going out to bid here soon to update, do a rate analysis on our water, as well as an impact fee facility plan and the impact fee analysis. So we'll be updating those fees. So heads up, that's gonna be, if not the next meeting, it'll be in September for sure. We'll be coming forward with you on that. Other than that, I think that's all I got.
Okay, so our next meeting is scheduled for August 15th at 7 PM, is that correct? Okay, and is there anything from the planning commission that we need to be aware of at all?
Not that I know
Okay. Okay.
so we may be holding a planning commission meeting this next week on the 8th. We canceled the last meeting, but we're still in the process of getting some documentation and understanding what that documentation means.
Okay. All right, any other items that need to come up tonight? With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
We adjourn our meeting.
Thank you, Diane, who would like to second
I'll
that?
second that.
Thank you, Gary. Motion to adjourn as accepted, and we're done.
All in favor?
Yeah, we don't even have to vote on that one.
Anyone else?